Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. I actually wasn't doing that for the big response, but thanks for the few of you that did respond. That was awesome. My name is Russ Laraway, and I head up the small and medium business here at Twitter. And the first thing I'd like to say is welcome to Twitter's headquarters here in sunny San Francisco. I hope throughout the event you guys can enjoy this view. I'd also like to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. I know everybody's got a lot going on, and it means an awful lot to us that you could take time out of your schedules to come spend a few hours with us. I also want to thank our valued partner, Hootsuite, just for their energy and effort in helping us get this event together and other events like this. They do an awful lot of great things with us, and we're really glad to have them. So I want to give you a little bit of background on small medium business at Twitter. Back in 2012, late 2012, we actually started serving this market officially. We were out in beta. It was sort of like whitelist only. We would invite known businesses, and we used that time to work out the kinks. Then in May of 2013, we actually went wide open in the United States. So basically anybody that has a credit card can advertise on Twitter. Fast forward toward the end of 2013, sometime around October, and we launched in the United Kingdom, Canada, and Ireland. And so that allowed those businesses to use Twitter's tools to drive their own success. And so fast forward all the way to yesterday, and we were hosting actually a live chat. I don't know, anybody see that live chat yesterday? Looks like just a couple. So you can check it out actually. It's at the hashtag Twitter Ads Chat. And there was one exchange on there that I thought was kind of funny and interesting. The exchange was, the setup is that customers can ask questions. And we had a couple people in basically like a war room who were answering those questions. And one customer had a question, then they got a response, follow-up question, response, follow-up question, response. In the end, I think the customer was reasonably satisfied with their answer. And so they said, "Thank you, Twitter robot," which, of course, it wasn't actually a robot. There were actually 3 people in a room answering these questions, just making sure that the right answer to the question was delivered. And so we've got this team of people here, believe it or not, for a small business channel, an extremely dedicated team of people who come to work every day just trying to think about how we can make your businesses more successful. That's truly what drives everybody on this team. And so with that in mind, in 2014, we'll be investing a lot in that. We'll host events like this. We'll put out some great educational content on our new small business blog. You should definitely check that out. And of course, don't forget to follow our handle, which is on the placard out front, but it's at Twitter Small Biz. And so we'll do a lot of research and put out a lot of content. And as you consume that content, realize our main objective is just to help you to get more value out of Twitter. And so speaking of objectives, if I had to articulate one objective for today, it's that you leave here with some new ideas or skills that you can implement immediately in order to drive meaningful outcomes for your business. And so we have a packed agenda to that end. I'm in the way of that at the moment, so I'm going to turn it over now to Jeanette Gibson from Hootsuite. Jeanette?
Thank you so much for having us, Russ, and Twitter. So I'm Jeanette Gibson with Hootsuite. Delighted to be here. For those of you that aren't familiar with Hootsuite, we are the world's largest social relationship platform. Are a certified partner of Twitter, and very happy to be here and work with Twitter. Hootsuite is a company that's based in Vancouver, Canada, but have operations all over the world. So we're growing very fast, have about 400 employees now, hoping to be as successful as Twitter with their IPO, hopefully maybe in a year or 2, we'll see. I joined Hootsuite about 5 months ago. I was at Cisco Systems here in the Valley and headed up their social media. So I'm intimately familiar with how to build a social media plan and scale it. So now at Hootsuite, I get the pleasure of working with our customers and helping them scale. So what I'd like to do today is share some tips for all of us in business on how to leverage Twitter, and then some customer examples. Of course, Twitter's going to talk, and then we have a great panel. So first off, I want to talk about, we already covered that. Those of you, again, please follow along on Twitter and social media driving business. So let's start off with some statistics, because I know because they like your brand, they share because they like their friends. So they want to share great content with their friends. So that's one of the big challenges, is to be able to tap into that The next is around mobile. All of us have our phones. I don't know what I would do without my phone. So this is the next challenge for us in marketing, is leveraging your phone and marketing to your users that are on your phone all the time. And by obviously using Twitter, majority of use is on the mobile phone. With Hootsuite, we have an app that enables you to track all of your social networks. And so I'll give you an example of how some businesses are tapping into that. All right, so let me talk about what companies are doing around social media. I wanted to kick it off with a quick review of small businesses. How many companies, how many here today are running marketing for a small business? And you're, what, 50 employees or lower? 100 or below? Okay, well, it's a little bigger than not just 15. Do we have people that are maybe between 1 and 30 employees? Great, perfect, all right. So you guys are probably seeing when you're looking at 3 years ago, I thought it'd be good to compare and see where we are, because I know with a small business, this is the biggest challenge is social media is everywhere. How in the world am I going to manage all this? So that's what we're here to talk about today. So if you look at 2010, you can see certainly social media was a part of the campaign, but if you look here, it was web and email and search. Probably no surprise, right? Well, what we're seeing now, 3 years later, huge surge in web. Of course, that's how you're driving revenue, is driving people to your website. Huge surge in social media. So when we look at why this is important, because the combination of your website and social media, in particular, using Twitter to be able to drive traffic to your website is phenomenal for your business. So these two go together, and I want to give you some examples of why this is important. First of all, we talked about why would people follow your brand. It's great to get loyal followers, great to get that fan base. If you can capture people to follow you on Twitter, they have 71% of users purchase products from brands they follow on social media. So if you can capture people through Twitter, through your social networks, there's going to be a better chance that you're going to be able to see more revenue from that audience. We also know that people prefer to see information they can get via social media. I know myself, when I'm looking in things, I'm always looking at the apps. I'll search on Twitter for latest research, or if I'm going to any restaurant or anywhere in the city, anywhere, I'm always pulling up my Yelp app. Right? So that's where I first go to search. So I think about how your customers are wanting to engage with your company. And again, looking at the results here for search. And then 46% of online users rely on social media before making decisions. So I think we know the statistics are there. People are on social media. How in the world do we manage it? Let me walk through some of the things that we've heard from our customers, and then I'll share with you some of those learnings. And again, we're going to have a great panel with customers here today that can tell you how they did it, so you can walk away with tips you can use today. First of all, when I asked our customers, what are your biggest challenges with social media? Does this surprise anyone? ROI? ROI is probably the biggest. Leveraging social to grow your business, and managing time and resources. Boy, have I heard complaints about managing time and resources, especially as small business owners, where you don't have a big marketing department or a big marketing budget, and you're one person, and now you have to manage all these tweets and all these social networks. So this is where it comes into handy to be able to leverage tools like Hootsuite and Twitter together, because that can help you manage all of your networks and manage all of your profiles, be it your personal profile, your personal Twitter, as well as your business Twitter. And then we also asked our customers, again, our small business customers that work with us at Hootsuite, because we have a product tailored for the free audience, so anyone can use Hootsuite for free. We have a pro version for small businesses that gives you more features and analytics, and then we have an enterprise grade version. So when speaking with our pro customers, this is what we hear. 55% are looking to increase leads and website traffic. So this is why I think it's very powerful when we look at where we are 3 years now, after really seeing social come alive for business, is the combination of web and social. So if there's any takeaway, make sure you're looking at how do I integrate whatever presence I have on my website with how I can leverage social media to both attract people. And those of you who do email, how many are doing email marketing here? Great. Perfect way to integrate social. Reviews. If you see reviews, have that be the content for your email. Make sure that if you have your email that you're asking people to follow you on Twitter. I know in speaking with one of our customers, when people started following them on Twitter, they did an automatic follow and said, would you like to be on our email list? Now when I first heard this, I thought people hate it when you automatically follow them. But they had a 50% accept rate. 50% of customers that started following them on Twitter then joined their email list. So now you have the opportunity to gather even more information about your customers and nurture them along the way. So make sure you're looking at how you can tie all that together. And then this is probably no surprise, the audience why we're here today is really to make sure that we're talking about social media strategy and how-tos. So that's why I'm so excited to be able to bring so many customers for you guys to be interacting with and ask questions. So make sure you're writing down your questions when our panelists come up. Okay, I'm going to talk about 2 customers. These are 2 different businesses that have started from just 2 people and grown to either 40 people or a couple hundred. But I want you to see the evolution on how they use social media to grow their business. So I don't know if anyone's heard of Herschel. They make great backpacks. They're actually based in Canada. And they started as 2 guys working in retail who could not find a backpack that they thought was either stylish, that they wanted, or functional, that they really were desiring for their travels. So they came together and had lots of designs, ended up building their business from scratch, had no promotion money, no marketing department, leveraged social media. And I want to tell you what they did that I think was unique is really tapped into the power of photography and visual on the internet. So here you can see the bags. They, again, today have 40 staff, so they've grown to 40 people. But if you look at their following, they have 10,000 followers on Twitter. That is because they are tapping into people that they know through looking at Twitter lists and things like that. They can tap into people that are interested in travel, interested in retail. So they use Hootsuite and Twitter. They do promoted tweets. That's a really important part of how they've been able to grow from 6,000 to 10,000 in just 2 months, for 3 months and 90 days. So let me show you what they did. We had a discussion with them about what is different using Twitter, and really it was customer service. They had 1 customer service rep. The expectation is that they would be doing customer service via Twitter 24/7 for any issue. You can imagine for a company that has 1 customer service rep that is going to be very difficult. So what they saw is they were getting 400 emails a day. It would take, even when they mapped out the max productivity of their team, 3 days to respond. They thought that was pretty good. You can imagine if someone is emailing them on a Friday and their bag just broke, the handle on their bag broke, they want response. They're not going to get a response till probably Monday at 1 p.m. That is not acceptable in today's environment. Customers expect real-time response. So because of their use of Twitter, they were able to scale their customer service activities through more employees. So that 1 customer service rep could now be 25 people, or all 40 people that work at the company. And they actually have 100 people that are now kind of sales globally. So now they have 140 people that can respond. So what they did is they used Twitter as their primary source for customer service. They now have a 2-hour response time. Again, they still just have 1 customer service rep, but it's because they're scaling and using all of their employees to be able to manage customer service inquiries. And what they did is they used Hootsuite, which enables them on their mobile phone to be able to see tweets coming in, and they can then route it to the appropriate person. So there's workflow built in to the mobile app. So when I was speaking with the social media manager at Herschel, or the 1 marketing person, they have a very small team, I think it's 2 people, she was saying that they were now able to respond on weekends. If people were available and it was Saturday and they saw a customer, their bag broke, they could respond and say, did you know we have a 1-year warranty? This was the biggest issue they found because they were listening on Twitter and understanding what is their customer pain point, how can they respond to customers better. This is where they saw most of the activity on Twitter was product fail. And you can imagine for a business that wants to grow your business, you have to address that quickly. So they were able to respond and say, well, we have a 1-year warranty. And you can imagine the response of people saying, I didn't know there was a 1-year warranty. So then people start retweeting saying, there's a 1-year warranty at Herschel, we'll replace your bag if it breaks. That started to help filter because they are now responding to customer service in an open environment. So when someone has a complaint, that is open, people see that. So now when they can respond in a public environment using Twitter, everyone can see, wow, that is a 1-year warranty. That is a differentiator from the other bag that I was considering buying. Now the other thing that they did was looked at photography. Now a lot of us can't afford to have a photographer on staff. That's not probably realistic. Maybe some of us can take our own pictures that look pretty good, but what they did is they actually had someone on staff that took pretty good pictures. They were kind of an amateur photographer, and they went out and took pictures of their products, and that was really what their website looked like. Beautiful imagery on the website. What they found is when looking on Instagram, they saw these beautiful photos of people that were posting pictures on Instagram. So they decided, I wonder if they'd be willing to take pictures of our product. Maybe there's a swap we could do. So they posted on beautiful photography of photographers they saw on Instagram and said, hey, we love your pictures. Would you be interested in taking a picture of Herschel bag, and we'll give you a free bag? Here they're tapping into the social network of people that are great at photography, and people raised their hand and said, I would be honored. So now not only do they have someone that is using their bag, but is taking gorgeous pictures like this, that is really giving you a sense of that outdoor lifestyle that they're looking for. So there are ways to tap into things that can be free. All right, Bob's Red Mill Foods. These guys are based in Oregon. Does everyone know Bob's Red Mill? They do awesome products. I love their... this is a great story because it's atypical for someone like Bob Moore to be a social media star. He is a farmer in Oregon, started this business on his own, really passionate about nutrition and quality foods, and they are a social media success story. So what they've done, they now have 350 employees, so they have grown from just the few, from 10 employees to 350, so I wanted to give you a sense of kind of how they are able to maintain the scale, because I actually thought they were a lot bigger than that because of their use of social media. So they really use Twitter as a way to engage with customers and have that one-to-one connection. And one thing that I was thinking about is reading, Brian Kramer on Twitter has a great ebook coming out. He's with an agency called Pure Matter, and it's talking about how it's no longer B2B or B2C, it's H to H. That's human to human. So we need to think about in our marketing approach, how can we have a human connection with our customers? How can we scale that? And Twitter enables you to do that. Social media enables you to put your personality. You can meet Bob Moore as far as Bob's Red Mill. Now you have a closer connection to that brand. So what they did, again, they focused on what were their audience sharing on Twitter. Coincidentally, a lot of people that were using their products were sharing recipes. People loved sharing the latest recipe they used, so they started, very simply, retweeting people's tweets about recipes. Starting to give back to the community and just retweet and favorite tweets and reply, and then they started sharing their own recipes. So now when you search Google for interesting recipes that are maybe gluten-free, Bob's will pop up pretty quickly. They have really good SEO now because of the amount of content they are sharing and posting. And of course, they're using analytics. So what's interesting about the analytics is they were able to, by looking at what was being discussed on Twitter, see that people were interested in recipes and people were really interested in gluten-free products. That enabled them to tailor their marketing messaging around the gluten-free industry, leverage the hashtag gluten-free. Things like this, they're really looking at what am I seeing on Twitter and how can I be where my customers are and be where the conversation is. So you can see they also use social media, and they are a Hootsuite customer that uses these scheduling capabilities. So if they know they have an announcement coming up, they can say, we have a new gluten-free product coming up. Sorry. And they can then schedule the tweets. So they know they want to send something out on Monday at 9 a.m., on Wednesday at noon, on Friday at 3. They can schedule those ahead of time because you know what, we don't have a lot of time. So being able to plan your week in advance, if you have an event, if you know there's an industry conference, if you want to schedule, maybe there's another webinar you're going to be attending on a Wednesday, you want to tap into that. So really planning out your editorial calendar and leveraging a tool like Hootsuite to be able to schedule and then incorporate team members. So again, they scaled by saying, I can't be the only one to do this, I'm going to schedule it and leverage team. So you can see a lot of the response they had, again, customer service, increased brand sentiment. Again, customer service is so important because they were measuring customer satisfaction, and they did see an increase in customer satisfaction because of their ability to respond. So I wanted to close with a few tips from our customers, just so everyone can be aware, and then we'll bring Twitter on stage here. Number one is to monitor your social networks and respond fast. I know that really seems unrealistic at times. How am I going to respond fast in an environment? But that's where leveraging other people at your company and being able to try and schedule and be realistic about what you can do. but making sure that you are kind of setting that as your culture to really focus on meeting people and getting close to your customers. It might just be as simple as retweeting. You don't always have to schedule or write a big blog. Just favorite tweets, retweet, and plan out your editorial calendar. And again, I wanted to close the images and stories. I think this is one of the things that from all of our customers we hear is, if you're passionate, you're a small business owner, you're passionate about your industry, you're passionate about your company, share your passion. Share your stories. People will then tap into that and want to share their stories. So when you look at your content calendar and how you're going to be mapping that out, think about what inspires you, because you are running a business, and then share those stories, whether it's on Twitter or other social networks. That's going to help, and tap into the hashtags in your industry. That's going to help kind of raise awareness and drive engagement. And then of course the content, we know, if we can just think about the human to human, that people don't want to be given promotions all the time. You want to think about how you can filter your content so there is some engaging content and that personal touch. So again, if you look at Bob's Red Mill, he does, for example, YouTube videos on how-tos. Like he wants to be like Julia Child was on her cooking show. So it's really hilarious because he's really into it. But that's his brand, that's his passion, right? So that has attracted people that want to share recipes. So think about your passion and follow through on that. And then we have a lot of resources for you, for those that are interested. We just came out with a new top 10 social media marketing tips for small business. So if you go to our blog, blog.hootsuite.com, you can take a look at those tips. We also have a ton of free resources on our blog again, and we have a new ebook that's coming out on how to build a community of followers. This is around brand advocacy. This is like, how do you tap into the community? And so please feel free to check those out. And thank you very much. Appreciate your attention.
Hi everyone, my name is Anne Mercogliano and I head up the SMB marketing group here at Twitter. So I just wanted to start off and say we are so honored that you're taking this time this morning to come out. I understand that you have a lot that you're working on. To take a few hours out of your day and come to Twitter and think about what can we do and how can we help you with your marketing success means a lot to us, because we understand that honestly there's a lot of tools, a lot of tricks, but it's for you guys prioritizing. And so that's the whole point of really creating this event today, working with Hootsuite, and making sure that we have these wonderful panelists in the room. The idea that we want to be able to stress is that Twitter can make life a little bit easier. It shouldn't be overwhelming. We want to make sure that you leave with some concrete tips and tricks, as well as some inspiration from both our panelists that have some great things to say about how they're approaching this, as well as some case studies. So I'm going to talk through what are some 4 or 5 things you can leave today that hopefully you can do as you walk out the door, as you get back to your office and you settle down in front of your computer, to think about really driving success for your business by using Twitter as a platform. So Twitter overall, what is the value prop? We are always amazed at just the conversations that happen. And honestly, the way that we view it is that Twitter brings you closer to the people, the things, and the events around the world. Be it, Sochi in 2014 and seeing the global conversation of one place where you could log on and see the world community talk about the Olympics, to breaking news of what's happening in Venezuela and the Ukraine, to Beyonce releasing her album on Twitter and just kind of dropping that in one day. Conversations from any different walks of life happen on Twitter. And that's the powerful part about it, is that we have people from a global community tuning in and to discuss and kind of join the conversation. A great example, just to tell you and have you leave today with the idea on what is the traffic that you're seeing. Super Bowl 48, 25.3 million tweets in the US during the game. And that was 1.8 billion impressions. So those are the people that are just viewing it, 25.3 million tweets. And the great part about that was the variety. So, there's people tweeting about the game, about the ads on there, about the halftime show. Me particularly, that the 49ers weren't in the Super Bowl, and I was sad about that. But overall, the idea that you can have this philosophy and this big town square where you're inviting everyone in to talk about what's happening in real time, we view as extremely powerful. What we also view that's powerful is that Twitter also brings you closer to your customers as well. So the idea that you will be able to reach out to the people who are interested in your business, we view as very powerful for our small and medium business community. To give you some ideas of Twitter by the numbers, we have over 240 million monthly users on the platform, and that's 500 million plus tweets per day. So having that amount of volume, knowing that people are on there, they're having that discussion, and they want to hear from you. The thing to really drive this home, and this is actually very exciting for us, so yesterday we released a big research study that our team has been working on for months now with a company called DB5. And the idea is, let's go and talk to people who follow SMBs on Twitter. Yes, I can tell you how great the numbers are and how big the conversation is, but I think what you guys want to know today is, are my customers on there, and what will this actually do to drive results for our business? And the question that we pose to them is, you know, after you follow somebody on Twitter, so everyone who kind of raised their hand and said, yes, I follow specifically a small or medium-sized business, you know, what do you do to follow up? And 86% of them said they were more likely to create future purchases. Not only that, we found that over 40% were likely to do repeated purchases. The idea is they want to follow you, they want to interact with you, and it can drive offline results. The other powerful thing, just to stress, is that Twitter users are very mobile. 76% are accessing Twitter on a mobile device. And we know this is very powerful from what Jeanette was talking about earlier, and the idea that you want to be there in real time. This is a way to get a customer that's walking down the street, or that is, you know, on 2 screens in front of a television, maybe with a laptop, and then the third one even on their phone. The idea is mobile traffic is going to be extremely helpful for your business, and it's a very simple way, instead of you figuring out how do I really optimize for mobile, how do I really make my, my whole experience and engage my customers on that platform, being on Twitter for free, getting that traffic, is a wonderful way that you can easily reach out to your customers. So how to get started? This is the one thing we hear time and time again. We've done these events, different live chats on Twitter, or even just, you know, doing different webinars. People say, I'm on there, I don't quite understand like what the day-to-day things should be doing that could help me grow our business. So we want to make it very simple for you. 5 easy tips to really think about. First, finding your customers. Really, you already know who is interested in your business, but at the same time, you can also find more people and spread that message. Developing your voice, so that undaunting feeling of, oh my gosh, I have to create content every day. We have some simple tips for that. Getting organized on how to put this all together so that it's seamless and you also don't feel like it's constantly overwhelming to be updating. Experimenting with offers. So the idea is, you know, how do you actually drive an offer to your business or drive traffic to your site? And then lastly, amplifying your reach. So on the first tip of finding your followers, some of your best prospects are going to be on Twitter. The bigger question today to ask yourselves is, do they know that your business is? The first and simple tip that I recommend for everyone to think about is you probably have a customer list somewhere. You may have an email newsletter, you've been getting emails or different pieces of information because you want to reach out to your customer base that you know about today. It's very easy just going into the settings and seeing if you can find them on Twitter. Upload that. There's a great simple thing for something as simple as Gmail to find your customers on Twitter. And then, you know, as Jen even talked about, follow them. Let them know that you're there. See what they're talking about. It's great customer intel, and it lets them see that, hey, you're following them right now, you're interacting, they have expressed interest to your business, they will most likely follow back. The other idea is also thinking about just making sure that your Twitter handle is out there. It always makes me very happy when I walk into the store and I see the Twitter presence kind of right there on the glass, or even just on a website. Letting people know that, you know, you have this presence, and also following up with like why specifically to follow you. So hey, follow us for exclusive deals. Putting that in your signage or even your email comms. We found from an earlier study that we did is that about 30%, it was actually a little bit over 30% of people who are a regular SMB follower actually go and check out an SMB when they see that handle advertised and have done that in the past. So it's something very simple and easy for you guys to do. And then that third piece of this is how do you find new people out there? How do you find the customers that may not know that your business is on Twitter yet? And really, the best advice that we have is just search and listen and see the conversations that are going on. Use the search tool at the top and search for industry terms that are relevant to you. Are you, an online fashion blogger, or do you have an online, fashion store? Think about the different products or brands. Search, see who's talking about them. See if people are posing questions, and jump in the conversation. See if you have that industry, insight, or you can put that little tip there, or say, hey, actually, the product you're talking about is available at my retail store. It's a very simple way, but a great way to ease into the conversation and let people know about your expertise and the products that you're selling. The other good idea too is also thinking about following people that are very prominent in your industry, experts or journalists that potentially cover your products or your services. And lastly, even great small biz organizations like the New York Times Small Biz handle or Shop Small or even any of the SBA handles. It's great because you can kind of join that community as well of other people who are talking about how do they drive their own marketing success and get tips and tricks from there. The second tip is developing your voice. I think this is always the overwhelming thing. If you see the cursor blinking there, what do I want to tweet? And honestly, I think people get very scared and try to get overly formal. The idea is to let your passion and personality shine through. One of my favorite tweets, actually, and this comes from one of our case studies, is from this company called Gong Show Beer, which is actually based up in Canada. And they are actually one of the #1 online retailers, or actually retailers of hockey products in the world. But when you ask them what their mission is, they said it is to spread the hockey culture and love across the globe. And that's the thing, they're not just saying, hey, here's our new product, here's our new product. They're peppering this in with starting this wonderful conversation or doing hashtags that are, Gretzky is so good day, and having people start with their hyperboles and pushing them over. They have seen so much engagement, and they find their followers by just starting interesting conversations. You can see right now, at the time that we screen captured this, 97 retweets. So the idea is, when you're passionate about something, which all of you are working at a business that you're proud of, talk about that. Those fun, different conversations that you can have that let your customers know that they want to create a community and you want them joining in on that conversation. The third tip about getting organized, I think this is the one thing that's overwhelming. How do you think about constantly scheduling content? And there's a few really easy ways to just break this up and make it seem like something that you can kind of keep completely sustainable. We always talk about a tweet calendar. I think this is one of those things where you can get extremely fancy, and there are products like Hootsuite that will help you schedule your tweets, and you can kind of pull all of your content together. Also on our own platform, available to everyone in the room, if you log into ads.twitter.com, we actually have our own tweet scheduling that you could do for organically or your paid tweets. But the other thing is, I've actually seen this is done on a whiteboard or a notebook, and it's equally as effective. It's really thinking about, what do I want to say? How do I build out an editorial calendar? And instead of just leaving it at that grandiose thing of there's everything to talk about, giving yourself a schedule. It's not only helpful for you, so knowing that Monday is behind the scenes Monday. I'm really going to do something where I focus on a project that we're working on, or I let an employee talk about something that's really interesting in my business. But also your followers know, hey, Monday, that's kind of a fun day to see engagement, or Tuesday is special promotion day. Usually you guys put a way of putting out different specials on that day. People know Tuesdays, let me check that handle. Let me log on to Twitter and look for the tweet that you're doing. Hopefully simple, effective, and it breaks it down so that it sets you up for success. Also, one other thing that we've done in this study, which has been quite powerful, is just figuring out what do your followers potentially want to hear from you. So in talking to people who follow SMBs, these were the top reasons why they do it. And I actually think this is really powerful, is it's not just this, oh, I want discounts and promotions, which is quite high and we highly recommend, but really they want to learn. They actually want to hear from you about your product, your services, some of the great kind of qual results you got, where it's just, I really love knowing that you have something in development, or a professional services firm, you're working on this big white paper and you're slowly tweeting out like different pieces of information as you're developing it. These are a reason that people want to find you in their Twitter feed. So I highly recommend that idea of engaging in that content, and then also giving them information they should use. And the second most powerful thing about showing support, again, they want to follow you because they care about your business. You're creating that community. And that should be something that's really heartening, is that all of your followers that you have today, and when you leave in the room and start thinking about other ways that you want to engage on Twitter, all of that means that you have different people out there that are showing support for your business by following. Our next tip, driving sales with offers. So we kind of covered the first half, which is engagement, which is really important. And that's the idea of starting those conversations, bringing up different topics, getting a community around you. But how do you actually drive that offline results, which is either sales or traffic to your website, or leads to follow up with. And really, we break it down into a simple way. The idea is get input first. It's not fun to run a sale that nobody really wants. Know what your product and what the customers are really looking for by engaging them first and asking them questions. Is it something that's brand new they want exclusive access to before the community? Or is it something that has been a best hit and a bestseller? Promoting early. You can definitely drop a bomb and say, quick, 1 hour sale, this is happening, but you're going to get higher results if you let people know it's coming. So on Monday, on Friday, we're going to have this great sale. Tuesday, here's a picture of the product that we're going to be selling. On Wednesday, tell your friends about this. Make sure that you're promoting it early and you build up that demand so that when you actually do have this tweet out, that is the idea of what you're running for your business, people are aware and they're excited for it. Tweet clear instructions is our next idea. We'll go through actually the best way to think about putting together a direct response tweet on the next slide. But the main idea here is let people know exactly how they can claim their offer. 4, reward. So this idea of overall making sure that you get back in a timely manner. So if it's a 20% off, you have all of the logistics in place. And then lastly, following up. Everyone who engaged, who favorited, who retweet, they're saying that they just raised their hand and said, I am interested in your business. That is a powerful thing. So as you kind of ramped up, as you put this different offer out there, and as people responded to it, know that all of those people just gave you great insight that you can potentially keep talking to about your business. So how to think about just the clearest tweet for running an offer. Really, the main thing here, and you can see, is to make sure that you put some sort of time-sensitive information. You give people that sense of urgency. You spell out exactly what people are getting. You don't clutter it up with other hashtags or mentions, because again, remember, that's something that's dynamic on Twitter that people can click through and kind of follow down the rabbit hole. You want to keep it simple with this idea of a strong call to action of go to this website or come in today. This one thing is you want people focusing on where to go and on the flip side of what exactly they'll get there. And then lastly, amplifying your presence on Twitter ads. So the idea of Twitter is, and we always say this, is that we want you to be good at Twitter. You're not going to really see great success if you aren't thinking about the content that you want and creating this community. And then the best part is, do all of that R&D. Test things out and find your best hits. And when you have those, amplify them on Twitter ads. And what that essentially means is just getting in front of other people that are not currently your followers. So the first product would be potentially getting your account in front of people who are not your followers. So the idea is, in the who to follow section over there, or even one of the most powerful things that we released this year, I think, is Pack and Timeline, which is not only, this is my business, you should follow it, and it gives you a piece of creative to say why to follow. So follow me for the most, interesting tips about my industry, or follow me because I'm going to have exclusive deals that are only going to be, offered on my Twitter account. It lets you target and find people who are like your followers, interests, geolocation, and find people who you think that potentially would benefit from having them in their tweet stream when they follow. The other product that we have is promoted tweets. So this is taking your best hit tweet, the one that you know that works, or the sale that you've really been ramping up to, and promoting that and getting it in front of a new audience. And then that appears in the timeline as well. So hopefully those are some easy things that you can do today. The other thing is that we just want to also frame, before we kind of turn this over to our panelists, 3 simple ways to just start thinking about how you approach your marketing on Twitter that potentially can make it be easier for you, make it work better for you, and just hopefully, is something that inspires you to try different ways of really growing your business on Twitter. First is really thinking about your marketing success being more than just large, elaborate initiatives. The way that you can think about Twitter is that it also can be about inspired moments. I love this example. This is actually one of our bigger brands of American Apparel. They ran a Thanksgiving sale, and actually in 1 hour from kind of the sale that they ran, they were able to get $50K worth of revenue sold just on the Twitter platform alone in 1 hour. And so we actually followed up with the director of their marketing, Ryan Holiday, and he had a wonderful kind of way that he kind of talked about why Twitter, why it was powerful, and why they engage. And basically, the way that he quoted is, I love email marketing, it's great, but you have to test, you have to code, you have to sit there and ramp this all up. Twitter gives him the power to just have, quickly and easily run these smaller campaigns in real time. The idea is you can test and learn on Twitter. Think about using this as a very simple way, instead of constructing a large, elaborate campaign, to try to run something small and reward your followers. Second idea is, your marketing success can be more than just you having to go out there and spread the word. It's not always you who has to be championing what you're doing. It can also be letting other people spread the word for you. And in that regard, we love this. This is one of our best tips that we always say and we recommend for small businesses, is this idea of a to exclusive, or another thing that we call this is a flock to unlock. And so basically, give a goal, give a sale of, hey, we're going to do $88 down to $49 on these chinos, but the only way for this offer to actually be unlocked is if we get X amount of retweets. So you see 49 here. Crazy part about this, because they got over 100 retweets in less than 10 minutes when they put this out there. This was just at the first part where we captured it when they unlocked it. It's one of these wonderful ways of not only are you sharing it with your followers, but by them retweeting it, think of all that will go into their feed, and it will essentially expand kind of going forward. A very simple way to kind of do a social deal where you get your advocates championing your cause. And then the last thing to think about is it doesn't just have to be marketing success by moving your product. You can also think about it from moving people. This is one of my most favorite examples, but Vivian Kerr in her Make a Stand, which really started out, this is a 10-year-old girl who basically saw this picture over here that was, really talking about the idea of child slavery. And as a 10-year-old, she said, I want to do something about this. And so what does a 10-year-old do? She says, I'm going to open up a lemonade stand. And basically from that lemonade stand, she was going to work at that, and she had a goal of raising $150,000. Well, tweeting about this and kind of, talking about this on Twitter, actually Nicholas Kristof picked this up and retweeted her and really engaged. Crazy part about this today is that she's actually taken this lemonade stand and is still championing this cause and is in 152 different retail locations selling her lemonade in bottles today. And she's donating those profits to this nonprofit of ending child slavery. So it doesn't just have to be about you thinking just about your product or business. If we have nonprofits in the room today, there's ways that you can leverage Twitter to really make sure that you're getting the word out and that you're having people join into that conversation that we talk about that happens on our platform. So before I turn it over to the panels, I just want to call out 2 quick resources. One, definitely following us on Twitter Small Biz. We have our community manager in our room has been live tweeting this right now. And the big reason of why to follow us on Twitter is that we want to be giving you daily tips and tricks. We want to make it easy for you to find a resource. Anytime we have different guides that are coming out or tools that we want to give you, we will be posting it there. And then the other place to look for us is business.twitter.com, where we have a lot more other resources and case studies that hopefully will inspire you. So I'll turn this over to Bryn Sanders, who is on our SMB team as well, and she will come up and introduce our speakers.
Hi, guys. Hi guys, hopefully you're still awake. This is a fun part. This is where we're gonna get to talk to some real life people who use Twitter for their businesses. So I'd like to introduce you to Carly, Ron, and Matt. Carly heads up digital engagement at the SF Ballet, just right down the street, or basically our neighbor. Ron works as a senior marketing manager at Evernote, and Matt comes from us from DocuSign. Also based here in San Francisco. So can you guys just give them a quick round of applause and thank them so much for coming this morning. Great, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go through and have them answer a few questions, and then we're gonna also leave time for some Q&A. So you guys actually out in the audience can go ahead and get some questions answered as well, because it's probably a lot of the reason you came here today. So I think we'll just start off by having you guys each go down and kind of tell us a little bit about how your company actually started using social media. I know, Ron, it's kind of like been engraved in Evernote's piece from the beginning, right?
Yeah, definitely. I was trying to think back actually when we started. I was talking with another marketing person who was there before me, and yeah, it's been there basically since the beginning. We really embraced it. We loved the opportunity, and it's kind of grown with us as we've grown into a much larger company. We started out, I think, in early 2008, and personally, I was using it before I actually started working at Evernote, and then now it's kind of grown into a huge focus for us, and it's been just kind of awesome to see it kind of evolve and figure out ways to keep using it in different ways, and then always keeping an eye on what we can do more with it.
And Matt, I know that you guys have used Twitter and other social channels for a while, but really started investing in Twitter a few years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. About 18 months ago, DocuSign really started to invest into social media because our customers were having conversations. And to DocuSign, our customers are our base. They are who make us who we are. And so we decided to actually then join in with them into their conversations.
Great. Carly, tell us a little bit about what the SF Ballet's done and kind of what you've done since you started there.
Well, I think that SF Ballet has been on Twitter since, I think it's 2008 or 2009. I actually came on board in 2011 as a full-time social media digital engagement associate, which was a big investment for a non-profit performing arts company to make in social media, but it's really paid off. But I would say that. So the main point of social media for San Francisco Ballet is adding that value, kind of showing that behind-the-scenes glimpse of what's going on with the company. We're in the middle of our season right now, so people want to know what's going on backstage, and we want to show them.
Great. I'll stick with you, and have you tell us a little bit about when you kind of came on full-time to SF Ballet. What surprised you most about using Twitter in those earlier days that maybe you guys weren't really aware of? I know one of the things you guys kind of struggled with initially is like, how do I measure it?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that surprised me when I first came on board was how much people wanted to talk about their performance experience. They wanted to live tweet almost. I mean, obviously in the auditorium we can't allow people to be on their cell phones, but you know, people really wanted to tell us at intermission what they thought. So I was kind of blown away by people's willingness to share what they thought and to share their passion as well, because that's the great thing about performing arts, that people tend to be very passionate, and sometimes their passion is positive, sometimes it's not. They want to tell you why they didn't like something, but that's just as valid, and that's very exciting for us.
Great. And Matt, what about you guys? I know that there was some fear initially in the beginning, I think, about just, you know, how to get involved in those conversations, what to really talk about.
Yeah, for DocuSign, we are a marketer's dream and nightmare. Our product goes everywhere, to every vertical, every department, every individual, B2B or B2C. So for us, it was looking at all of the conversations that were taking place with so many people wanting to go mobile and do business digital, and just looking at all those different areas.
Great. And what about you, Ron? I know you were talking to me a little bit about just figuring out your voice.
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar, you know, how many people actually use Evernote? Is anybody out there? So probably everybody that raised their hand uses it in a different way and for a different purpose. And, you know, that's definitely a huge challenge for us as we're trying to, you know, build out our social strategy, as well as, you know, kind of figure out our voice and what types of things we like to do with that. Is, you know, everybody kind of, it's a very open product, it's very flexible, and there's a lot of personalization with it, and so the use cases are very broad, and, you know, the types of things that we can talk about are kind of very, very wide open for us. So, you know, looking closely at, you know, what our voice, what we want our voice to be, and how we want to you know, interact with our users, and what types of things we're trying to accomplish with social is definitely, you know, something that we look really closely at, and, you know, me personally, you know, is kind of taking a very close look at it every day. So
Great. Let's talk a little bit about, I mean, some of the presentations kind of hit on this, but early on, were there any bumps in the road for any of you, or challenges that you might have experienced when just kind of trying to measure things, or, you know, communicate with your audience? Carly, I think you talked a little bit about kind of coming in and having to establish like measurement of what you were all looking at in terms of metrics.
Definitely. I mean, I actually came from an art museum back in the UK, which was free to enter. So when I came on board at San Francisco Ballet, where, you know, we sell tickets, I kind of imagined Twitter as being this magical kind of panacea for, you know, selling tickets online, and that was really illuminating to find that, you know, it's actually about more than that, and it's the willingness as well to explain to people in your organization that there's more to social media and Twitter specifically than selling tickets. It's about building those relationships and sustaining those long-term relationships, nurturing your existing fans and valuing them, but also attracting new ones with your behavior on Twitter. So obviously selling tickets is really important to us, but it is about more than that, I would say.
That's great. And Ron, I think you talked a little bit about kind of early on figuring out what role Twitter was going to play for your overall business.
That's definitely, like I said, been an evolution. And for us, though, figuring out how this tool that's, about, and obviously it's a huge opportunity to, listen in and join conversations and interact with these people that are following you, and that they're having this great chance to kind of take your brand and learn about it and all these great things. But then how are you actually gonna do that? What is gonna be your goals of that? So that's been a challenge along the way. Another challenge that came up as well has just been kind of as we've scaled and as we've gotten larger and the conversations have gotten larger, figuring out how to actually get meaningful insight into that. So it's really easy when you have a handful of followers and there's a handful of conversations going on, and then as you get kind of larger, it turns into hundreds and thousands, and it becomes multiple languages and all these different things going on all at once. So definitely some of the things the tips that were mentioned earlier, things like looking to searches and hashtags and tools like Hootsuite that allow you to set up streams and different things like that to kind of start to look at the data and put it into different buckets so that you can kind of make use out of that is definitely something to keep an eye on as your followers grow.
Manage the beast, so to speak.
Yeah, it's always better to get ahead of it, especially it's kind of happens kind of suddenly, I would say, and you start off very small, and then before you know it.
Yeah, I know we've anecdotally, as Twitter Small Biz started, obviously we didn't have the Twitter Small Biz handle until we kind of went open, and we've seen that presence just grow. I think when I started on the team in July, we had 60,000 followers. Now we have like 170,000 followers. So it's just huge, and it just starts to spiral. Yeah, exactly. Matt, I know for you guys, it was a lot about kind of aligning teams initially.
Yeah, so for us, it was initially kicking it off and aligning internally on how we're going to use social. Looking at it from brand awareness, also from lead gen, for support, and making sure all our internal teams were aligned to make sure we were successful for our customers when we were communicating with them.
Great. So we kind of talked about this, initially you thought Twitter was going to be great for driving ticket sales, and I think one of the things that would probably be really helpful for the audience to know about is what role does Twitter play in your overall business growth, and how do you think about that? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's important to say that I think Twitter does do a lot for us in terms of ticket sales. Excuse me. I just don't think that that's always directly trackable directly from Twitter, and I think that's a device issue. I think a lot of people, well, as the slides there showed, a lot of people are using Twitter on their mobile devices, and as comfy as we're all getting with buying tickets on mobile devices now, I don't think it's quite there yet where everybody feels comfortable. So just because someone's enjoying interacting with us on Twitter doesn't mean they necessarily want to go straight away, click the link and buy the tickets. And that's something that we're very understanding of within the organization. But for us, it's a public perception issue as well. I think a lot of people, if they haven't been to the ballet, they think they know exactly what it's going to be, and they think that they won't like it. I mean, we're America's oldest professional ballet company, so that comes with a lot of stereotypes and perceptions, and that's one of the major things that we use Twitter for, to show what goes on behind the scenes and to have a more light-hearted voice and to kind of dispel some of those preconceptions people might have. We want to be accessible and warm and welcoming, and that's why our voice is the way it is on Twitter.
And Matt, what do you guys look at in terms of measurement? What in terms of kind of your metrics that you might be reporting on? I mean, I have a little insider knowledge because we used to work together, but
yeah.
I would love to know some more.
No, so for DocuSign, we have a couple different measurements that we look for when it comes to success. One of our biggest ones is just brand awareness and engagement. We really want to make sure our communities are engaged with us as a brand, to show relevancy, to show that they're interested in what we're talking about, not only from just a high level of digital and mobile, but also from our product. Are they interested in the tips and tricks that we're sharing with them? Are they relevant to them? Is it helping them down the buying cycle? Giving them information about DocuSign in regards to how it's going to help improve their business. So we look at those from more of a brand awareness standpoint. But we're also a sales organization. We're very B2B. So how do we use Twitter to help drive those sales and drive those leads? Basically by using promoted tweets and the lead gen cards as well too.
Great. And Ron, I know for you guys, it's more about kind of thinking about the journey that someone might go through.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, Evernote's a very open and flexible tool that is used in lots of different ways, and so a lot of times the way that I'll think about it is taking somebody and getting them from maybe having very little awareness to our product to being a great user of it, and how do you get them through that journey. And Twitter provides this really nice opportunity to build out a nice narrative where you interact with them on a daily basis, hopefully, and they're seeing some tweets come through, and it allows us to kind of script out a really nice mixture of different tips and user stories and videos and photos and kind of updates about our product, and combination of retweets of things that are going on in our world, and other partners that we're working with, and all these different things. So kind of approaching it from that perspective, and kind of looking at it from the other way. If you're a follower of this brand, how are you kind of viewing this brand and getting the most out of following us? So
great. So I'll ask a fun one now. I want to hear a little bit about a campaign that you ran on Twitter that was, it doesn't have to necessarily be, blow it out of the water sales-wise, but something that was really fun that you did that really got your community involved. I know you guys did something around the Nutcracker.
We did, yeah. So last year for Nutcracker, we ran a series of contests on social media, and each contest was on a different platform and tailored to what people who are on that platform enjoyed doing. So for example, on Tumblr, the contest was a Photoshop contest. And on Twitter, we knew that our followers love wordplay, they love puns, they love our puns. So we asked people, everyone knows the story of the Nutcracker, right? And they know the villain of the piece is the Rat King who comes on stage and generally causes a commotion. So we asked people to imagine they were the Rat King's PR advisor, and they wanted to get the Rat King on Twitter, and what would the Rat King's first tweet be? And people really responded to that, because it's fun, like who doesn't want to do that? So we had some hysterical entries. Just getting into the fun spirit around Nutcracker, it's a family show. You don't have to have any kind of pre-knowledge of ballet to come along to it. So it really kind of tapped into everything strategically we were trying to say around Nutcracker. And yeah, the engagement we got was fantastic. So that for me is one of our real kind of successes on Twitter.
That's really fun. Ron, you guys have a big event that you do every year, and I think you guys did some cool stuff on Twitter around that event.
Yeah, each year we have the Evernote conference. I think we had a third one, and it was in September this year. And so each year it kind of gets bigger and better, hopefully, and there's lots of kind of excitement around things that we're doing, and it's a great chance for us to kind of put our company out there and our brand and invite people to actually show up, and we make announcements, and there's all kinds of great things going on. And this year we really said, how can we extend that experience for the people who aren't going to be able to be in the room, and how can we kind of engage people who aren't going to be able to attend and come out to San Francisco. And so from the beginning we kind of thought through ways to do that. So we really that kind of started with us picking hashtag early on, integrating it into all the marketing and actually all the the signage and things like that. And then kind of going a step further and saying how can we actually ensure the engagement or give that a little push. So we built an actual hub where we were curating live tweets and Instagrams of the hashtag right there, as well as us kind of building out again a really nice script, hopefully, and kind of having thought through how we're going to be tweeting throughout the day, and different people that we're going to be tweeting and retweeting and things like that. And ultimately, it was a really great way to kind of I think accomplish what we set out to do, and I think we trended a couple times worldwide, which is kind of always great to see. Yeah, it was a really interesting exercise to kind of approach it that way and see it all kind of come together. We also had a visualization at the conference up on the wall, so people knew that if they were going to be sharing things, they could see their actual tweets or their Instagrams right there at the conference. So we really seen a lot of engagement around that specific day. And looking at metrics, that kind of blew our metrics out of the water when you see that level of engagement on one single day, and then it's kind of back to normal in the next week. But
yeah, you have to have those like big moments that happen. Actually, I got a DM from someone in the room who said that we were trending in the US for this event, so that's really exciting. So all of you who've been tweeting both on the live stream and here in person has really helped to get that out to as many people as possible. So that's awesome. Matt, tell us about something that you guys have done that's been a successful campaign for DocuSign.
Yeah, sure. So how many in the room, since we're in San Francisco, have heard of Dreamforce? Raise your hand. Okay, so for DocuSign, Dreamforce is one of the largest events that we participate in for the year. and we set a goal to be one of the trending hashtags during Dreamforce. We throw an amazing after party every year. And what we decided to do this year was to have everybody take a selfie at our booth. And to be able to do that, you'd be entered into a drawing to our VIP passes to the after party during Dreamforce. So we got to not only see a lot of amazing engagement from our users and from attendees that were there by showing their attendance at our booth, driving booth registration, by driving booth engagement, but also, weirdly enough, and actually was a huge surprise and exciting for us, is the DocuSign hashtag was trending on that Tuesday more than the Dreamforce hashtag. So it was an amazing opportunity for us to be on the forefront with all of our customers and prospects and individuals and partners that were actually at Dreamforce, to put DocuSign in front of all those individuals by also not engaging with who we were talking to, but also just engaging with everybody that was there.
And I'm sure you got some funny pictures out of it as well.
We got some amazing pictures. I would definitely say they were great from not only during the event, but also at the after party as well. Yeah.
Nice. Well, actually, at this point, what I'd love to do is be able to open it up to the audience to have you ask some questions. So I'm actually going to ask that Anne comes back up, and she's going to take a mic and bring it around to people in the audience who have questions. So if you have a question, just go ahead and raise your hand. I'm going to go and hand this mic off to her.
Thanks, guys. This panel has been really helpful. My name's Kevin Danino. I'm a president of a marketing and PR agency. We work with a lot of financial services companies, and I'm curious to hear from the panel and perhaps Ron on the DocuSign. And I'd love to know some of the strategies, at least from Twitter's point of view, and what you guys are doing as to how you are working with financial services organizations where compliance and a lot of other issues sort of stifle creativity. As well. Any best practices or things that you guys could share?
Sure. Yeah, I couldn't speak to any specifics around the financial industry, but just kind of in general, a good thing that was brought up earlier that was definitely something to keep in mind is matching the voice with your audience, and that kind of, it seems kind of very natural when you read somebody's tweets, and over time though that voice has been kind of carefully curated properly. So especially in the financial industry or industries where there's a lot. There is these compliance issues, things like that. Keeping in mind matching your tones. Maybe not having a lot of jokey type of things, or sarcastic, or that might not be the right place for a financial person to engage in that way. So just that would be something that might be a good piece of advice. But
yeah. Also for us, we're very verticalized when it comes to the conversations that we have at DocuSign, because we play in just so many verticals and departments. But to Ron's point is that we keep it very more B2B and very professional when it comes to the financial service and industry, whether it's from a promoted tweet that we work with, or whether it's just a product tip and trick. But we use it for more as a way to empower the individual, by also engaging with thought leaders as well to the same time.
Excuse me. Hi, my name is Cynthia Mackey. I run a digital marketing company, and the majority of our clients, I'll stand up, the majority of our clients are 15 to 20 year plus clients, 50 plus employees. And I wanted to ask a harder question. Internally, sometimes it's difficult with senior management if they've used more traditional ways to generate revenue and engage with their audience. And they actually have fears of backlash or stories they've seen on the news. What would you suggest for encouraging and working with those types of viewpoints to use Twitter and Hootsuite and tools like that, and if you have examples that you could share?
I guess I'll take that question first. So at DocuSign, we really just started with social media a little over 18 months ago. So it's really coming down to educating the executive team and just taking them and walking them through the process. So starting out with showing them who our current audience is, where the conversations that are taking place, and showing them what's already happening. And then from there, starting to show them monthly trends about the type of conversations that are taking place, where they are on Twitter, the different type of verticals. So some verticals that we focus on may not have as high conversations as others, and the type of conversations that are actually working. So that we can show the number of retweets, the engagements, But then also lead that into more driving revenue to, for example, website views, to events, and that type of, those different type of areas as well too. But it's just a lot of education, a lot of showing stats. They love to have the stats, they like that information, they like the charts. So just making sure that you're helping educate them so they can make the best decisions.
I think jumping in there too, I think Matt hits on a really good point. It's about establishing or finding kind of where your audience is, what that volume looks like, and tying that back to some sort of like metric that you can hold yourself accountable for, whether it's visits to your website or it's the number of people who are downloading your app, or whatever that keystone metric is that you're held to for any other traditional medium. I mean, Twitter can be held to those same standards in a lot of ways. I think you have to think a little bit more outside the box in terms of the creative. But I think that it kind of can fit still and compete against some of those more traditional, buys that you might think about making.
I just wanted to follow up on that. For me, it's two things. And the first thing I think you hit on with the communication aspect, be really clear about what you're going to do. No one wants to be afraid that a rogue employee who manages the Twitter account is going to go, off on one and start saying things that aren't aligning with the brand. So I think open communication is so important, and trusting the intuition and the judgment of the person or the people that are running your social media accounts. But also, I think placing social media in the wider context. I think a lot of people think that because you've got a Twitter account, this means you're going to stop doing everything else. And it's not, it's one piece of the pie. And I often make the comparison to, street pole banners and posters around the city. We still do those. Of course, we're going to keep doing those for a very long time, I think. And measuring those results is quite tricky. And I think we often hold social media to a much, much higher standard simply because someone can click on a link from your tweet and they can technically buy something, and so you think that they should. So I think it's about context as well and explaining it to the people you work with in that way.
Go for it.
Hello, my name is Tracy and I'm a freelance social media consultant. I'm actually asking a question on behalf of a friend who couldn't be here today. My friend is very well known in her field, and she's been trying to get her personal account verified by Twitter. So first of all, I'd like to know if you can offer some of the pros and cons of somebody who's fairly well known, at least in their field, getting a verified account from Twitter, and also what does that process actually work like, because she said that she's been tweeting Twitter and she can't get anybody to respond to her request. So that's the question I have today. Thank you.
I'll take that one. So I get this one every time, and that's a fair question. So how verification works at Twitter is we proactively go out and verify specifically news channels. We do verify individuals who are at risk of impersonation, but if there is not a risk of impersonation, we don't verify. A great example is our CEO of Twitter, who's obviously a very public individual, isn't verified. His account is just @Dixie. You can tweet him there. There's a lot of parody accounts about him, probably some that are by Twitter employees. They're funny, so you should try to find them as well. But I guess the big thing is, to answer your question, tweeting at Twitter is not going to help with verification. We have a team solely devoted to going out and making sure that if there is an impersonation issue, that person does go ahead and get a blue check mark next to their name. We're proactively verifying new accounts all the time, but there's no real channel right now to request or file a ticket for verification. Hopefully that helps to answer your question.
Hi. I see more and more images and videos and tweets in my timeline, and two questions: how does one go about doing that, and any suggestions on doing it well?
Do you guys, one of you want to take that?
Yeah, this is huge. This is really exciting for social media people. Yeah, the ability to put images right in line and have them show up is just awesome. And I know all the early kind of stats around that has been really great as far as retweets and engagement and really increasing. We're definitely excited about that, and especially when you look at a stream and as was brought up earlier, people are primarily accessing Twitter on mobile. On a mobile device, having that image kind of come right in line, the amount of real estate it takes up in the stream is awesome. The other cool thing that's offering the ability to is to really kind of expand the types of conversation you could have with one single tweet. So when you have an image that complements the message, it really kind of changes the way that you can kind of structure the tweets. So it's before, you'd have to do it all with characters, but now because the image shows up right alongside the text, you can kind of make the text the lead into the image, or vice versa. So that's just really, it's just really exciting and opens up a whole lot of opportunities. I'd say the one thing that I'm definitely keeping an eye on as well is maybe not overusing it so much. So it's awesome, it's great, but at a certain point, maybe every tweet shouldn't have an image. It might get a little bit too much. So definitely keep an eye on that. But
for DocuSign, we actually also do a lot with promoted posts and promoted tweets. So with promoted tweets, we actually have found with including an image in that, you have more of a 5x engagement rate than you do with a non-image type of promoted tweet as well too. So for those of you who actually do promoted tweets, definitely recommend doing a test between a non-visual and to a visual as well too, to kind of see the difference in engagement and the click-throughs, and really tying it back to your goals.
I just want to follow up on that, saying that our strategy is intensely visual. It's all about what people can see on stage and what they can see backstage. But also, as a total tangent, I once accidentally forgot to include my caption with my picture, and the engagement rate was off the roof with that one tweet because it didn't have accompanying information. And that was like a year, 2 years ago. So that comes back to the experimentation as well. Don't stop experimenting just because things are getting even more visual on Twitter. You can be surprised.
And I think in terms of what images you use or how you actually use them, essentially you can upload any kind of image file you want. There's a camera icon right there, so you can use a picture that you take with your iPhone. You can upload a JPEG you have saved on your desktop. You can link to a YouTube video. You can link to an Instagram. Some of those photos will show up in stream. A few of them aren't supported. So you just have to kind of take a look. Our file that we use is pic.twitter, so any photo that you upload, like a JPEG or a PNG or a screenshot that's on your desktop, that will show up as a pic.twitter, and you can see it right in the stream, as these guys have talked about.
I run a video production company, and video and social behave quite well together. So on behalf of my customers, I'm wondering, my question's about discovery and analytics. What are tools that you like to discover your audience? And besides Hootsuite, which returns analytics, what other analytics tools do you like? And what data points do you find most useful?
We find Twitter's own insights really helpful, actually, particularly on a tweet-by-tweet basis. I kind of do a weekly review of what worked and what didn't from our Twitter perspective. Engagement rates, reach rates, favorites. I will measure this stuff and see what worked. And again, returning to the visual strategy, it's becoming clear that the visuals are becoming even more important. In terms of other analytics packages, other than Hootsuite, which we do use, we use Sprout Social as well, and that's very helpful for other things. But yeah, for us, it's about how many engagements, so that's a retweet, a favorite, a reply, does a single tweet create for us. In addition to that, web traffic, of course, that's hugely important to us.
Yeah, what was the first part of the question about discovering?
Yeah, tools for discovering potential audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think nothing probably would beat a Twitter search, just using the interface right there and looking. I'm not too familiar with any in the past. I guess with this, I think using lots of different tools and always kind of looking at different tools is probably kind of the way that it ends up being. So we'll definitely look at lots of different ways to measure and which one's working best. Hootsuite offers some really great analytics that give you a nice snapshot look. For instance, looking at the clicks of your tweet. So if you have a link in a lot of your tweets, which is part of a lot of people's strategy, looking at that and seeing which ones perform the best, giving you that kind of like top level view, so you can say, all right, well, this type of tweet consistently is performing better than this type of tweet. Analytics can get very, very detailed and look at lots and lots of different things and multiple variables, and it could also just kind of start off by being very simple and looking at the big trends that you start to see. And a lot of this does tend to be kind of evident once you start getting a little bit of data behind it. So looking at very small data sets or a handful of tweets over time, maybe not going to give you the best conclusions, but once you start trying out things like a lot of people have said here and testing things, hopefully those kind of the insights start to become more clear and figuring out which things are most relevant for you to look at too. So.
For DocuSign, we are huge on testing and piloting, looking at new technology as it's coming out. Not only do we love using the Twitter analytics and the information there, but we also use other things such as Littlebird and Insightful. Those have been really impactful for us for our verticals and being able to do, looking at what's trending, what's going on in different areas and different segments that we're looking at within Twitter as well.
We actually have a question from somebody who's watching the live stream, which is on auto-scheduling for you guys. So do you usually think about specifically what time that you want to schedule, or do you let kind of it post for the, the time to maximize there? How do you think about auto-scheduling tweets?
For me, personally, it's about the tone of the tweet. So if it's a more lighthearted tweet, or if it's about the performance, I will tweet that during intermission, and if I can't be there during the intermission of performance, I will auto-schedule that. Like I say, if it's a more lighthearted tweet or it's a more fun tweet, I'll put it later at night and see what happens, late at night on a Friday night. As a general rule with most of our social media, we tend to be very sensitive to the rhythms of the working day. So we'll post a lot at like lunchtime, say, SF time, or after work, so 5, 6, 7, and into the evening. Because especially if we're posting videos, a lot of people sitting at their desk can't watch the video. So that's a waste of a tweet, quite frankly. So I think we're very sensitive to those kind of daily rhythms.
Yeah, I generally don't. I try not to do scheduled tweets as much as possible, just because dealing with like a large number that we have, and really kind of keeping a close eye on that. I'm a little against kind of like scheduling things out too far in advance, and losing that level of control, and especially like if there was a big news event or something like that, and having a tweet auto set out to go. So definitely try to keep as much hands-on as possible, and that's makes for a little more work on me personally, but that's something that I kind of keep up with. As far as the timing goes, that's definitely something that you could also keep a really close eye on and see which tweets are really resonating with your audience. So there's some really great stats out there about the perfect time to tweet based on large numbers of or large data sets, but your audience might be all from a certain time zone, and your best time to tweet might be much different than a global brand who has followers all over the world. So definitely kind of take a close look at your specific followers and maybe where the engagement's happening. But yeah.
No, you're fine. So I would definitely say for us, being a global brand, we're looking at time zones, but it really comes down to the engagement. I would say definitely are 50-50 between auto tweets and just scheduling them, and then also doing real in-time type tweets. An example would be for webinars. When we're doing webinars, we know exactly when the webinar is, when it's taking place. A tweet going out as when it's going to take place an hour before to maybe 3 days before as a reminder that we have a webinar. But on the flip side of that is events. It's about showing and sharing the experience that's taking place and what's happening, and making sure it's within that time zone, whether it's in EMEA or APAC or here in the States as well.
Hi, my name is Karina and I run a digital magazine. I want to hear your thoughts on, so it's a startup, so I want to hear your thoughts on buying followers. Speaking of analytics.
Yep. Have any of you guys used promoted accounts? Want to talk to that?
Sure. So we do use promoted accounts on Twitter, but we use that in a way that we're targeting our specific verticals and key interests. We've had an amazing engagement rate because of that, where we have people sharing more about their DocuSign story because they didn't know we were actually on Twitter. So it's a great way to get in front of those individuals to share that you are here, that you're having conversations, and letting them know that you are open to have a conversation with them, whether it's a one-to-one base or whether it's a one-to-many base. But it just opens that door so that they actually know that you're there.
So I think the biggest thing when you think about promoted accounts, I think Anne kind of touched on this, is you need to make sure that you have an established Twitter presence, and that when someone comes and visits your Twitter stream, they're going to be engaged. There's tweets there that you know, are interesting, and you are keeping up a regular cadence of tweeting, you know, multiple times in a given week. I don't think it makes a ton of sense to use any of the ad products, frankly, if you haven't established your Twitter presence already. So we like to say spend a lot of time listening, and once you've listened, then start kind of interacting, and once you feel comfortable with interacting, then go ahead and think about amplifying. So listen, interact, amplify. When you do think about amplifying, I think Matt kind of touched on this in a really great way. It's making sure that you're getting your account out to the right people is important. So using the targeting that's available to you to think about who are my like niche audiences that I want to talk to, and how do I go about targeting them. So if I want to target people who are really in the food community in San Francisco, how would I go about doing that? Well, I can think about the different magazines that might feature restaurant articles, or I can think about the different restaurants that have a presence on Twitter, and target people who follow those different communities. So that's how I would start, is think about being niche, and then using precision, and then going broader as you see results.
I think one other thing to talk about that is that, you know, our promoted account product is putting an advertisement out there saying why to follow me, and that is you're trying to get people to discover, versus the idea of the buy X amount of followers, which, to be honest, you know, the count goes up, but none of those people, these are accounts that are not seeing your tweets again and again. So it's kind of buying a room but having nobody in it. You're not talking to a real audience. So I think the idea of like really focusing on discovery and making sure more people know about your account is kind of the way that you'll actually get the value out of having those followers, because they'll see your tweets again and again.
Hello, my name is Eric with Justino here in San Francisco. I wanted to kind of touch back to the discovery question that was answered a couple ago. Is that, you know, my thought and primary focus has always been something that's overlooked every day in our industry is your current website visitors, and focusing and investing on customers that care about your brand, that actually want to listen to what you have to say. And you touched on buying fans, or followers. It's only good for social proof, which is good when someone comes. I'm curious with the panel what you guys are doing to focus on your current website visitors and your kind of company culture and belief on investing in those actual ones.
Yeah, sure. A really important metric for us is social referrals and the percentage of those that are new visits. We find that a lot when we do campaigns that are quite different, like contest campaigns. We find we get a lot of new social referrals, so people who have not been historically visiting San Francisco Ballet's website a lot previously. This is actually a question we grapple with a lot about the relationship of social to website traffic, because our social presences are quite different to our website. It's quite a different experience. Our website is, the style is different, the tone is different. It's where you buy your tickets. It's where you can get hard factual information about the company. And by contrast, our social presences are kind of rich. They're full of backstage content, videos, campaigns, contests, that kind of thing. So they are two very different worlds. And so we hope that people will make that leap and go over to the website to buy a ticket, essentially, being brutally honest. But what we want to do is find ways that we can smooth that path and make it seem far less of a jump, far less of a, far more of a smoother transition over to the website. But we definitely haven't abandoned looking at website traffic in favor of social traffic. It's, like I say, social is part of the pie. It's not replacing everything else in it. And referrals are important to us, but we understand there's lots of people who Google the ballet. They'll Google SF Ballet tickets and come to us that way. Or they'll, type our URL directly into their address bar. We're aware that there's a lot of people who aren't engaging with us on social that come to our website a lot and they buy tickets, and they're no less valuable to us.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I mean, growth as a thing that we look at, something that I definitely like break out as its own category, and part of some of the strategies that we'll work on will be specifically designed to figure out ways that we can grow our community on social, and a lot of that is just awareness and integrating that into the website in different places and looking for opportunities to give people the opportunity who's already interacting with your brand to go ahead and connect with you on social. And a good way to kind of think about that too, a good way to get started with that is kind of define these different channels that you're using and why they would actually want to follow you on those, and then say, follow us here on Twitter for this specific purpose, or follow us here on Instagram, and you'll get a behind the scenes look into something. So that way you're kind of capitalizing on all the people who are already going to be hitting your site or already using your product and giving them the natural opportunity to do that. Something that's just overlooked. I mean, typically it's been kind of thrown in the footer at the bottom of the website, and that's pretty much it. So definitely lots more opportunities to see that in the future, and things like promoted and paid definitely complement the larger strategy of just growing your community.
I think you hit on something that's really important or interesting. So one of the things that we offer is this idea of embedding your Twitter stream within your website, or embedding a follow button on your website. Both those things are free for anyone to do, and so we've seen a lot when people do that, they actually see a big jump in social referral traffic, obviously, that comes to their website because people are coming there, absorbing the feed, they're going back to Twitter, they're following your account, or they're following directly from your website, and they become kind of more of a loyal person who visits your site. So I think that's something that's really great to touch on. I think we have time for probably 2 more questions.
Hi, my name's Ritesh. We're a developer of a top-rated business app. Specifically from the app community, what have you guys done on Twitter to help drive installs of your apps? Or have you?
I would say it's probably all related, so everything we do is hopefully getting you to install the app. It all leads to that. I mean, we have to use kind of our service and install our apps to use it, so it's kind of hard to separate direct installs out from just the broader strategy.
A couple of things that we do when it comes to downloading DocSign Mobile, as an example, would be sharing conversations that are happening around the actual product itself, and telling a story on how the actual product is impacting a business or an individual. Because it's not just about downloading the app, but it's also about making that experience so somebody actually wants to download it and continue to use the app. Because you can get the download, but you may not get the usage. And so being able to continue that customer experience is a huge thing for us. Did that answer that question?
Yeah, so I guess the other part of that is, what if you're a premium app, right? So fair enough, if you have a free app, that's obviously a free install, and your point about it. But like in terms of getting people to, if you are actually a paid app, right? I mean,
Is there anything else that you might be able to do, or that you guys might be able to suggest, to help drive that? And that might tie into the question of around, as well, like using promoted accounts versus promoted tweets, and how there's been a difference in that for you guys too.
We actually ran a mid-sized social campaign around the holiday season because we have a Nutcracker app. We also have the SF Ballet mobile app, which is free to download, but we have the Nutcracker app, which is a paid download, and it's aimed at families and kind of tells the story of Nutcracker. And so to answer your question around the holiday season, just a couple of months ago, we did a series of short contests raising awareness of the app, with giving away free downloads to the people who answered our Nutcracker questions correctly and proved they were a Nutcracker nut. So that's how we did that. We chose to go the kind of organic route there and be kind of a bit more nimble about that. I think coming up this holiday season, we will probably consider doing some kind of promotion around that, specifically on Twitter. But yeah, I hope that's my take on it.
My name is Ron Martinez. I'm with Airbook. That's A-E-R-B-O-O-K, and it's a native commerce platform that lets you sell directly within social streams and apps. And my question for the group, and maybe it's a Twitter question as well, is, are there metrics about how much time people spend in hashtagged streams versus their own timeline? Because hashtags are obviously valuable, but what are the best practices around that, and are there metrics that might be shared?
So that's a really good question. So when someone opens up their desktop experience or their mobile experience of their app, they're always going to hit their home timeline first. So inherently, most people are absorbing content through their home timeline. We tend to see the most volume there. Your home timeline is where you see all the tweets of the people that you follow. So whenever someone opens their app, that's kind of where they're going to go first. Where we see hashtags being really, really valuable, and Ron and Matt both kind of touched on this, is around events. You see a lot more volume of hashtags around an event. So if you have a branded hashtag for an event, or there's an event you're attending that has a hashtag, a lot of people know now to kind of go there to follow the conversation around that specific event. That also happens with like trending news topics, or sports events, things like that, where there's some sort of time-based initiative. You tend to see more volume in what we call in search.
I think we have time for one last question.
And based on that last question,
Hi, I'm Steve Morzumi with SF Enthusiast. Based on that last question, can you get those metrics if you're a promoted tweets customer?
So if you are using the promoted products, you have access to an analytics dash. What that dash gives you metrics about is all your tweets that you're sending out through Twitter. You can see metrics on those, how many people retweeted them, favorited them, clicked on them, replied to them. And then for any promoted campaigns that you run, you get in-depth metrics on clicks. You can set up a conversion tracking pixel, actually, if you want to get that sophisticated, where you can actually track conversions that are happening from people seeing your promoted tweets. So those are all things you can set up through the ads dashboards, an exhaustive set of analytics. If you're interested in knowing more about what kind of analytics you would get, you can visit the business.twitter site. Also, everyone has access to log into ads.twitter.com using their Twitter credentials, so you can actually see what the promoted products look like and what kind of analytics you'll get by just logging in. And you don't have to enter a credit card or anything like that. You can log in, take a look, but actually to start a campaign, you would need to enter a credit card. Great. Well, we thank you guys all so much for coming today. It's been really great to have everyone. We're glad you got up early to come to our office, and hopefully it was a good use of your time. Feel free to continue to tweet at the hashtag we had up today, and we'll try to answer some of those other questions that came through the tweet stream as well. Thanks, guys.